There's a cold, hard truth the left simply refuses to accept. The world is filled with bad people with ill intentions, and without a doubt, these thugs are emboldened by weak on-crime policies. And yes, some are mentally ill. Either way, when the crime involves a gun, the left will weaponize the tragedy to advance aggressive gun control measures. Just listen to them blaming the NRA, a Second Amendment advocacy group, for the tragic school shooting in Tennessee, as if the NRA themselves carried out the crime. It's absurd. Liberals rather disparage a gun rights group or your right to bear arms instead of holding criminals accountable. In fact, you know what they do. They sympathize with the killers. There were 6 innocent lives murdered, 6. And look at that video. Left-wing protesters mourning 7 lives lost, not 6. Folks, they're including the murderer. This is what we're up against. Gun control advocates with scrambled brains. This is what indoctrination looks like. Joining me now, spokeswoman for MAGA Inc., Caroline Leavitt. Also here is founder of the DC Project and ambassador for Turning Point USA, Diana Muller. Diana, I'm going to start with you because you haven't been on the show before. But tell us, you protect women's rights to keep and bear arms, about right? And tell us how that fight is going.
Well, the DC Project is Women for Gun Rights, and we don't just protect women's gun rights, we protect everybody's gun rights. And I was really tired of seeing how the left used the female's voice to call for more gun control. I'm a retired police officer. I'm a professional competitive shooter. I happen to have some experience with firearms and with violence. And these women have been misled. I know they have good intentions, and we all want the same thing, to be safe, but their policies are failed policies. So we're trying to do something different. Today we did a march similar to what you're seeing on the screen today, but our messages were much different. It was that guns do save lives, and that education is the key to firearm safety, not legislation.
I want to stay with you just for another second here. Can you confirm what we've been saying on the show for years, and John Lott said earlier, that in fact the hardened target is the best deterrent to a bad guy with a gun?
Absolutely. Predators are predators, whether they're in the wild or whether they're humans, and you can learn a lot from training, and your mind is your first defense. But there's a lot of people who don't understand that, like you said earlier, evil is evil, and there is no law that is going to make a man's heart that wants to commit some sort of violence. There's nothing that you can do except protect yourself and be prepared.
Yeah, control and roll the Bill Maher soundbite. We'll give it to Caroline.
Guns are a leveler. You know, if you don't have guns, then the person who is physically stronger is always going to win. Mm-hmm. I mean, I do not like guns. Mm-hmm. I have guns. I don't like them. It's like I always compare them to antibiotics. I never want to take one. But I'm glad they exist, mm-hmm. because I'm as small as some women. And I may need to level the playing field.
Yeah, so go ahead, Caroline. I mean, you know, he's wildly liberal, too. At least he's using his brain a little bit instead of his ideology.
Yeah, that's exactly right. As President Trump said in his NRA speech today, America doesn't have a gun problem. We have a mental health problem, a social, a cultural, and a spiritual problem in this country. The answer is more guns in the hands of law-abiding citizens. In COVID pandemic, it was quite interesting. Gun sales shot through the roof. Firearm sales amongst women, amongst minorities, amongst all Americans were more than 40% nationwide. Why is that? It's because the American people understand that when a government becomes too big and tyrannical, we need the ability to defend ourselves. That's why our founding fathers put that as the Second Amendment in our Constitution. And now with Biden's bloated administrative state and federal government, the right to defend ourselves has never been more important. I was quite encouraged to see President Trump pushing for new policy proposals at the NRA today, such as establishing a DOJ task force to go after far left prosecutors who are convicting law-abiding citizens for defending themselves, also passing national reciprocity across state lines. Mm-hmm. I live in the state of New Hampshire, where the live free or die state, we have concealed carry. You go over the border to Massachusetts with your firearm, you're facing a felony. That's not right in America. We must elect President Trump, who was the most
allow me just, Diana, allow me to give Diana a final thought in about 20 seconds or so, Diana, and talk to us about how how the Democrat administrations never seem to understand what an assault weapon is, or don't even understand gun rights, do they?
Well, that's what I mentioned. They don't have any experience with firearms, and they don't have any experience with violence, and they're being misled. And these policies, if you look at them, like Dr. John Lott, I know he was on earlier, if you look at the statistics, these policies are failed time and time again. It's time to try something.
Trying to try something new. Diana Muller, Caroline Levitt, thank you both for joining us. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Okay.